The auction hall on Station Kovacs 7 was filled with the galaxy's most powerful buyers. Wealthy merchants from the Zorath Collective stood next to military representatives from the Kessian Empire. Even a few shadowy figures from the underground markets had come to bid on the salvage from humanity's defeat. Commander Vexus of the Kessian Empire walked through the display area with a look of disgust on his face. His blue scales caught the light as he moved past rows of captured human vessels. Each ship looked worse than the last. Rusty hulls, outdated weapons, engine systems that belonged in museums. "These humans," Vexus said to his assistant, "they truly are the most pathetic species in the known galaxy. Look at this garbage. How did they ever think they could challenge the collective?" His assistant, a younger Kessian named Torak, nodded quickly. "Yes, Commander. The war lasted only 3 standard cycles. The humans never stood a chance." Vexus stopped in front of the largest ship in the auction. It was massive compared to the others, but that only made its flaws more obvious. The hull was covered in patches and welds. Entire sections looked like they had been rebuilt using different materials. Wires hung from open panels. The paint was chipped and faded. A holographic sign floated above the ship. It read, "Human Vessel, Class Unknown. Designation, the Persistence. Starting bid, 500 credits. Vexus laughed so hard that several nearby buyers turned to look at him. 500 credits? They should pay us to take this thing away. It is an insult to space itself." The auctioneer, a small creature with multiple eyes, approached them. "Ah, Commander Vexus. I see you have found our most interesting piece. This vessel was captured during the final battle at Earth's moon. It was the last human ship still fighting when the surrender was announced." "The last ship fighting?" Vexus looked at the vessel again. "This thing? I find that hard to believe. It looks like it would fall apart in a light breeze." "The humans are known for their stubbornness," the auctioneer said. "Perhaps that is why they kept fighting even in such a useless vessel." Torak was studying the ship with more attention. "Commander, there is something strange about this ship. I cannot identify its class in any of our databases. The design does not match any known human configuration." Vexus waved his hand dismissively. "That is because the humans built it from whatever scraps they could find. Look at it, Torak. Half the hull plates do not even match. The weapons look like they were taken from a dozen different vessels. This is not a warship. This is a floating junkyard." But Torak continued to stare at the ship. Something about it bothered him, though he could not explain why. The humans were primitive, yes. Their technology was centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. But they had a reputation for something else, too. They were survivors. They adapted. They refused to give up. "Commander," Torak said quietly, "perhaps we should bid on it, for study purposes, if nothing else." "Study? Study what? How not to build a ship?" Vexus shook his head. "No. I came here to buy their military cruisers. Those at least have some value as museum pieces. This thing is worthless." The auction began an hour later. Vexus purchased 3 human cruisers for his empire's war museum. Other buyers took the remaining vessels. When the Persistence came up for bidding, there was laughter throughout the hall. 500 credits, the auctioneer announced. "Do I have any bids?" Silence. "Anyone? This is a genuine human battleship. A piece of history." More silence. Someone in the crowd made a joke about using it for target practice. "Very well," the auctioneer said. "If there are no bids, this vessel will be sent to the recycling yards for scrap metal." A voice came from the back of the hall. 500 credits. Everyone turned to look. A human stood there. She was young, with dark hair and tired eyes. Her clothes were worn and patched in several places. She held up a credit chip with a hand that showed old burn scars. Vexus recognized the uniform she wore under her civilian jacket. It was the remnants of a human military outfit, a veteran of the war that her species had lost so badly. "The human bids 500, the auctioneer said, sounding surprised. "Do I have any other bids?" No one spoke. Who would waste credits fighting a defeated human for a worthless ship? "Sold to the human for 500 credits. The woman walked forward to claim her purchase. As she passed Vexus, he could not help but speak. "Why would you waste your money on that piece of junk? It is barely worth the metal it is made from." The woman stopped. She looked up at Vexus with eyes that showed no fear, despite the fact that he towered over her by at least 2 feet. "Her name is the Persistence," she said quietly, "and she was my ship." Vexus blinked. "Your ship? You commanded this thing?" "I served on her for 12 years. I was her chief engineer." The woman looked at the ship with something Vexus did not understand. Affection? Pride? For that pile of scrap? "She deserves better than the recycling yards. She deserves to be put out of her misery," Vexus said. "I am amazed she did not fall apart during the war. What kind of engine does she even have?" The woman smiled. It was a strange smile, sad but also knowing. "An old one," she said. "Very old." She walked away before Vexus could ask more questions. 3 months passed. Vexus had forgotten about the human and her worthless ship. He was busy with more important matters. The Kessian Empire was preparing for another expansion. There were new species to conquer, new territories to claim. Then the reports started coming in. "Commander," Torak said one morning, his voice shaking, "we have received emergency transmissions from the border stations." Vexus looked up from his morning meal. "What kind of emergency?" "Pirates, sir, or at least we think they are pirates. They have been attacking Zorath Collective supply ships." "Pirates are not our concern. Let the Zorath deal with their own problems." "Sir, the attacks are happening in our territory too. 3 of our cargo vessels have been hit in the past week. And—" Torak hesitated. "And what?" "The attacking ship matches no known configuration. Our scanners cannot identify it, but witnesses describe it as old, patched together, like something from a junkyard." Vexus felt a cold sensation in his stomach. "Show me the sensor data." Torak brought up the images. They were blurry, captured in the chaos of battle, but the shape was unmistakable. Those mismatched hull plates, those seemingly random weapon placements, that ugly patchwork design, the persistence. "Impossible," Vexus whispered. "That ship could barely fly. It cannot be raiding military convoys." "Sir, there is more. The ship has been seen traveling at speeds that should be impossible for a vessel of its size. And its weapons. Sir, the weapons do not match any human technology we have ever seen." Vexus stared at the image. The human woman's words came back to him. She had smiled when he asked about the engine. She had called it old. "How old?" "Sir," Torak continued, "the Zorath Collective has sent formal complaints. They are demanding we capture or destroy this vessel. It has cost them millions in lost cargo, and the attacks are getting bolder. Yesterday, it hit a convoy that was guarded by 2 heavy cruisers." "What happened to the cruisers?" Torak swallowed. "Destroyed, sir, both of them, in less than 5 minutes." Vexus stood up so fast that his chair fell over. 5 minutes? 2 heavy cruisers in 5 minutes? That is impossible. The Zorath cruisers are among the best in the galaxy. How could a human junkyard ship destroy them?" "We do not know, sir. The survivors said the weapons came from everywhere at once. They said the ship moved like nothing they had ever seen, and they said—" Torak looked down at his notes. "They said the human broadcast a message before the attack." "What message?" Torak read from the report. She said, "You took everything from us, our homes, our families, our future, but you made one mistake. You did not take our persistence." Vexus felt the blood drain from his face. He had laughed at that ship. He had called it worthless. He had dismissed the human who bought it as a fool spending her last credits on garbage. He was beginning to think he had made a terrible mistake. "Get me everything we have on human technology," Vexus ordered. "Everything. I want to know how they build their ships, what they know about engines, weapons, everything." "Sir, we already have that data. Human technology is primitive. They only achieved faster-than-light travel 200 years ago. Their weapons are generations behind ours." "Then explain to me how a primitive species just destroyed two of the best cruisers in the galaxy with a ship that looks like it was built in a garbage dump." Torak had no answer. Neither did anyone else. Over the next month, the attacks continued. The Persistence appeared without warning, struck with devastating force, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Cargo ships, military escorts, even a small space station. Nothing could stop it. Nothing could catch it. And the human at the helm was just getting started. Vexus began to have nightmares. In his dreams, he saw that ugly, patched ship growing larger and larger, its weapons glowing with impossible light. And he heard the human's voice, calm and quiet, saying words that now haunted him. "Her name is the Persistence." He was starting to understand why. Captain Maya Chen sat in the command chair of the Persistence, watching stars streak past on the main view screen. The ship hummed around her, a sound that most people would have described as mechanical noise. But to Maya, it was like music, a song that had played through 12 years of her life, through battles and escapes and moments when death seemed certain. The bridge of the Persistence looked nothing like what the alien species expected from a warship. There were no grand displays or shining consoles. The walls were covered with exposed wiring and patched metal. The captain's chair was old leather, cracked and worn, held together with repair tape. The floor showed decades of use, scratched and dented by countless boots. But Maya knew something that the galaxy did not understand yet. Every patch, every rough weld, every mismatched piece of metal told a story. And together, those stories made the Persistence the most dangerous ship that had ever flown through space. Her first officer, Lieutenant James Park, walked onto the bridge with a data pad in his hand. James was older than Maya, his hair already turning gray at the temples. He had served on this ship even longer than she had, starting as a young engineer before the first contact with alien life. "The cargo transfer is complete," James reported. "Medical supplies are heading to the colony on Marcos 3, food supplies to the refugees on Station Delta, weapons and equipment to the resistance cells on the outer rim." Maya nodded. "Casualties?" "None on our side. The Zorath convoy was carrying 300 crew members. We gave them time to evacuate before we destroyed the escort ships." James paused. "Some of them refused to leave. They stayed at their posts." "I know." Maya closed her eyes for a moment. War meant death. She had accepted that long ago, but she never enjoyed it. "What about the sensor data? Did the new modifications work?" James smiled. It was the first time Maya had seen him smile in weeks. Better than expected. The Kessian tracking systems could not get a lock on us at all. They were shooting blind. Our stealth systems made us invisible to everything they had. "Good." Maya stood up and walked to the view screen. Outside, the stars looked peaceful. Cold and distant, yes, but peaceful. It was hard to believe that so much violence was happening among them. "How long until the next target?" 16 hours. A Kessian supply depot near the Varen system. Intelligence reports suggest they are stockpiling weapons for another push into human space. Maya's jaw tightened. Human space. What was left of it anyway? Earth was occupied. Mars was in ruins. Most of the colonies had surrendered or been destroyed. The survivors lived in hiding, in refugee camps, in underground bunkers. They lived because they were too stubborn to die, not because the galaxy let them. "Tell me about the depot defenses," Maya said. James pulled up a holographic display. The depot was a large structure, heavily armored, surrounded by defense platforms and patrol ships. On paper, it was an impossible target. Any conventional attack would require a fleet of at least 20 warships. But the Persistence was not a conventional warship. 6 defense platforms, James said. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a cruiser. 12 patrol ships, rotating in overlapping patterns. The depot itself has shields rated to withstand nuclear bombardment. What about the weak points? The shield generator is located here. James pointed to a section of the depot. It draws power from the main reactor through these conduits. If we can hit those conduits precisely, the shields will drop for approximately 30 seconds before backup systems activate. 30 seconds. Maya studied the display. That is enough time for a full torpedo spread? If we are already in position when the shields drop, yes, but getting into position without being detected is not a problem for us. Maya turned to face the rest of the bridge crew. There were only 8 of them, 8 humans operating a ship that normally required a crew of 300. Everyone knows their jobs. We have done this before. We will do it again. The crew nodded. They did not cheer or shout battle cries. They were professionals. More than that, they were survivors. Every single one of them had lost something in the war. Family, friends, homes. They had all been broken at some point, but they had put themselves back together, just like the ship they served on. Maya sat back down in her chair. Her hand touched the armrest, feeling the texture of the old leather. This chair had belonged to her grandmother, the original captain of the Persistence. Before that, it had belonged to her great-grandmother, who had commanded the ship when it was first launched. The Persistence was older than the alien species realized, much older. When humanity first reached the stars, they did not find friendly neighbors. They found predators. Species that saw humans as nothing more than resources to be exploited, territories to be conquered. The first contact resulted in the complete destruction of 3 human colonies, millions of lives lost in a single day. Humanity learned a hard lesson that day. The universe was not kind. It did not care about fairness or justice or the dreams of a young species taking its first steps among the stars. It only cared about strength, about survival, so humanity adapted. They could not match the alien technology, not directly. The enemy had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They had weapons that humans could barely understand, shields that could stop nuclear missiles, sensors that could detect a ship from light years away. But humans had something the aliens did not expect. They had stubbornness, creativity. A refusal to accept defeat even when all logic said they should. They built ships that did not look like ships. They created weapons that did not work like weapons. They developed technologies that the aliens could not detect because they were based on principles that the aliens had dismissed as primitive centuries ago. The Persistence was the culmination of those efforts. She had been launched nearly 200 years ago, in the darkest days of the first alien war. Her hull was designed to look damaged and worthless, to be ignored by enemy sensors that were programmed to identify threats based on appearance. Her mismatched panels were actually layers of advanced armor, each piece serving a specific purpose. Her exposed wiring was a trap designed to fool enemies into thinking they knew her weaknesses, and her engine was humanity's greatest secret. Maya still remembered the day she learned the truth about the Persistence. She had been a young engineer assigned to routine maintenance. She had asked her supervisor why the ship looked so old when it clearly contained advanced systems. Her supervisor, an ancient woman with white hair and missing fingers from an old battle, had laughed. "Old? This ship is not old, child. She is eternal. The aliens think age means weakness. They replace their ships every few decades, always chasing newer and better technology. They do not understand that true strength comes from experience, from adaptation, from learning to survive when everything is trying to kill you." She had led Maya deep into the engine room, past layers of equipment that seemed outdated and useless. And there, at the heart of the ship, Maya had seen something that changed her understanding of everything. The engine of the Persistence was not a machine. It was alive, or rather it was something between life and technology. A biological computer that had been growing and learning for 2 centuries. It processed information faster than any artificial system. It adapted to threats in real time. It remembered every battle, every trick, every tactic that had ever been used against it, and it developed countermeasures automatically. The aliens thought human technology was primitive because it looked primitive. They did not understand that humans had taken a different path. Instead of building bigger and more powerful machines, they had learned to grow them, to evolve them. The Persistence had been shot, burned, bombed, and nearly destroyed dozens of times. But she always survived, and every time she survived, she became stronger, smarter, more capable. The aliens measured technology by what it could do in the present moment. Humans measured it by what it could become. Maya touched a control panel, and she felt a warm pulse in response. The ship recognized her. It knew her thoughts, her emotions, her intentions. It was not conscious in the way that humans understood consciousness, but it was aware. It cared about its crew. It wanted to protect them. "Engine status?" Maya asked. James checked his displays. "Core temperature is stable. Bio-neural processing at 97% capacity. The ship is ready for combat." Maya nodded. In 16 hours, they would attack a target that any normal ship would consider impossible. In 16 hours, they would remind the galaxy once again that humans were not as weak as they appeared. She thought about Commander Vexus, the alien who had laughed at her in the auction hall. He had called her ship worthless. He had called her species pathetic. He did not understand that those insults only made her stronger, that every time an alien dismissed humanity, they gave humans more reason to prove them wrong. The Persistence hummed around her, a mother protecting her children, a warrior preparing for battle. 200 years of experience, 200 years of survival, 200 years of evolution. The aliens wanted to believe that humans were primitive, that their technology was outdated, that their ships were made of junk and their weapons were useless. Maya was happy to let them believe that. Until the moment they realized their mistake. By then, of course, it would be too late. She looked at the view screen again, at the stars streaming past. Somewhere out there, her enemies were preparing their defenses. They were checking their sensors, counting their ships, calculating their odds. They thought they knew what was coming. They had no idea. "Begin pre-battle checks," Maya ordered. "I want everyone rested and ready in 12 hours. We have a depot to destroy." The crew moved to obey. There were no questions, no doubts, no hesitation. They trusted their captain. They trusted their ship. They trusted each other. And they trusted in the most human of all qualities. The quality that had brought them from caves to the stars. The quality that had kept them alive when every other species would have given up. Persistence. The name was not just a title, it was a promise, a declaration, a warning to everyone who had ever underestimated what humans could do. Maya smiled and closed her eyes. In 16 hours, she would deliver that warning personally. The Kessian Empire was about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The emergency alert woke Commander Vexus from troubled sleep. He stumbled to his communication console, his scales dull from exhaustion. For months now, he had been chasing reports of the Persistence. For months, he had failed to catch her. Every trap, every ambush, every carefully planned operation had failed. The human ship appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision, and vanished before anyone could respond. The Kessian Empire had lost 37 vessels. The Zorath Collective had lost even more. Trade routes were no longer safe. Military convoys required massive escorts, and still the attacks continued. "What is it now?" Vexus demanded. The face of Admiral Kreth appeared on the screen. The Admiral was the highest-ranking officer in the Kessian fleet, a veteran of 100 campaigns, but even he looked worried. "The depot at Varen's system is under attack. The persistence has been confirmed at the location." Vexus felt his heart skip a beat. "How did she get past the defenses?" "We do not know. Our sensors detected nothing until the shields dropped. By then, 3 of our patrol ships were already destroyed." The Admiral leaned closer to the screen. "Commander, the High Council has made a decision. They are sending the full battle group to intercept 40 warships, including our newest dreadnought. This ends today." "Admiral, with respect, we have tried military force before. It does not work. The human ship is too fast, too unpredictable." "Then we will make her predictable." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "We have captured something that the human captain values, something she will not be able to walk away from." Vexus felt cold. "What have you captured?" "Refugees, 300 humans from a hidden colony, women, children, elderly. They are being held at the Varen depot. We made sure the information was leaked through channels the human resistance monitors." "You are using civilians as bait?" "I am ending a threat to the Empire." The Admiral showed no emotion. "The human captain has proven she cares about her species. She will not abandon them. And when she comes, we will be waiting." Vexus said nothing. He had fought many enemies in his career. He had done things in war that he was not proud of, but using innocent prisoners as bait felt different. It felt wrong. It also felt desperate. "Commander," the Admiral continued, "you will lead the interception force. Your ship will be at the center of the trap. You wanted to catch this human. Now you will have your chance." The communication ended. Vexus stood alone in his quarters, staring at the blank screen. Somewhere out there, a human woman was flying toward danger. She was going to try to save 300 prisoners from the most powerful military force in the sector. Logic said she had no chance. The battle group was overwhelming, the trap was perfect, the persistence would be destroyed, and the human threat would finally end. But logic had been wrong about humans before. Vexus began to dress for battle. He had a feeling this would be a day that the galaxy would remember for a long time. The Varen system was beautiful in a cold, distant way. A white dwarf star at its center, surrounded by belts of ice and rock. The depot floated near the outer belt, a fortress of metal and weapons, bristling with defense platforms. And around it, the Kessian battle group waited, 40 warships arranged in a perfect sphere, covering every approach angle. At the center floated the Devastator, the newest dreadnought in the fleet. She was 3 kilometers long, armed with weapons that could crack a planet's surface, shielded by energy fields that could stop a star's heat. Vexus stood on the bridge of his cruiser, watching the empty space around them. Every sensor was at maximum power. Every weapon was charged and ready. Every eye was searching for the slightest hint of movement. Hours passed. Nothing happened. "Perhaps she will not come," Torak said quietly. "Perhaps she knows it is a trap." "She knows," Vexus replied, "but she will come anyway. She will not leave her people behind." "How can you be certain?" Vexus thought about the woman he had met at the auction, her worn clothes, her scarred hands, her tired eyes that still burned with something he had not recognized at the time. "Because that is what humans do," he said. "They fight for each other, even when there is no hope, even when they cannot win. They fight." The sensor officer suddenly straightened. "Contact. Ship emerging from behind the third moon. Configuration matches the persistence." Vexus looked at the tactical display. There she was. That ugly, patched, mismatched ship that had become the most feared vessel in the sector. She was flying directly toward the battle group, making no attempt to hide. She is not using her stealth systems, Torak noted. She wants us to see her. She wants to talk. Vexus turned to his communication officer. Open a channel. The view screen flickered and Maya Chen's face appeared. She looked calm. Too calm for someone flying into certain death. Commander Vexus, she said, I remember you. You called my ship a piece of junk. Captain Chen, I see you have come to rescue your prisoners. I have come to offer you a choice. Maya's voice was steady. Release the civilians. Let them go, and I will surrender myself and my ship. Murmurs ran through the bridge. Even the Admiral's image appeared in the corner of the screen, watching the exchange with interest. You would surrender? Vexus asked. After everything you have done? After all the ships you have destroyed? Those ships were military targets. The prisoners are not. They are innocent people who have nothing to do with this war. Maya's eyes hardened. You use them as bait to catch me. Fine. You have caught me. Now let them go. The Admiral's voice cut in. This is Admiral Kreth. Your offer is rejected. You will surrender unconditionally, or you will be destroyed. The prisoners will remain in custody until the Empire decides what to do with them. Maya nodded slowly, as if she had expected this answer. I understand. Then I have a message for you, Admiral, and for everyone listening. Speak. Maya leaned forward. Behind her, the bridge of the Persistence was visible. That ancient, worn, patched bridge that looked like it belonged in a museum. Humans have a saying. We do not negotiate with terrorists. People who use innocent lives as weapons are not enemies to be reasoned with. They are threats to be eliminated. You are the terrorist here, human. You have attacked our ships, our stations, our people. Your military forces invaded our worlds. Your soldiers killed our families. Your governments divided our colonies among yourselves like meat to be shared. Maya's voice remained calm, but her eyes were fire. We did not start this war, but we will end it, and it ends today. You are outnumbered 40-1. Your ship is surrounded. What do you think you can possibly do? Maya smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was sad, almost apologetic. I am going to show you something, Admiral. Something that my species has kept hidden for a very long time. We hoped we would never have to use it. We hoped that diplomacy would work, that reason would prevail, that the galaxy would learn to see us as equals. And now? Now I understand that some lessons can only be taught through strength. Maya turned to look at something off-screen. Persistence. Are you ready? A sound came through the communication channel, not a human voice, something deeper, older. A sound that was half machine and half song. Every alien on every ship felt something they had not felt in decades. Fear. What was that? Vexus whispered. Maya turned back to the screen. That was my ship, Commander. The real ship. The one that has been hiding inside this old hull for 200 years. The one that has been learning, growing, evolving with every battle. The one that has been waiting for this moment. On the tactical display, the Persistence began to change. The patches and welds that covered her hull started to glow. The mismatched panels shifted, revealing something beneath, something that pulsed with light. The exposed wiring retracted, replaced by smooth surfaces that seemed almost organic. The ship was transforming, unfolding, becoming something else entirely. Weapons appeared where none had existed before. Hundreds of them, thousands. They did not look like human weapons. They did not look like alien weapons. They looked like nothing any species had ever seen. The size of the ship changed, too. It grew larger, extending outward, sections emerging from within sections. What had seemed like a small frigate became a cruiser, then a battleship, then something larger. Something that rivaled the dreadnought itself. What is this? Admiral Kreth demanded, his voice cracking. What are you? "We are humanity," Maya said simply. "We are the species you dismissed as primitive, the species you conquered and enslaved and scattered across the stars. We built this ship with technology you could not understand because you never bothered to try. You looked at our rust and our patches and our old design, and you assumed you knew everything about us." The transformation completed. The Persistence no longer looked like a piece of junk. She looked like death itself, beautiful and terrible and impossible. "You should have asked questions," Maya continued. "You should have wondered why a primitive species managed to survive for 200 years against enemies with superior technology. You should have wondered why we kept fighting even when we had nothing left." She stood up from her chair. "The answer is standing in front of you. The Persistence is not just a ship. She is our secret weapon. She is 2 centuries of human stubbornness compressed into metal and light. Every battle we fought, every loss we suffered, every moment of despair and hope and fury, she absorbed it all. She learned from it all. She became something that has never existed before." The weapons on the Persistence began to charge. On every ship in the battle group, alarms screamed. "This is your last chance," Maya said. "Release the prisoners and withdraw your fleet. Go back to your empires and tell them what you saw here. Tell them that humanity is no longer prey. We are no longer victims. We are no longer the weak species to be conquered and divided." Admiral Kreth's face twisted with rage. "All ships! Open fire! Destroy that thing!" Every weapon in the battle group fired at once. Thousands of beams and missiles and projectiles converged on the Persistence. The attack would have destroyed a planet. It did not even scratch the hull. The Persistence absorbed the attack. The energy vanished into her transformed surface like water into sand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she fired back. Vexus watched in horror as his fleet came apart. The weapons of the Persistence were not projectiles or beams. They were something else. They passed through shields like they did not exist. They struck ships, and those ships simply stopped working. Engines failed. Weapons went dead. Life support collapsed. It was not destruction. It was disabling, precise, surgical. Every shot hit exactly where it needed to hit to neutralize a threat without killing the crew. In 3 minutes, 40 warships drifted helpless in space. The dreadnought floated dark and silent, its massive weapons useless. Maya's voice came through every speaker on every ship. "I did not come here to kill you. I came here to rescue prisoners and to deliver a message. The message is this: humanity offers peace, true peace, equality among species, trade, cooperation, shared growth. But if you choose war, understand what you are choosing. Understand that we have been holding back for 200 years. Understand that this is only one ship, and we have others." Vexus finally found his voice. "The prisoners. You said you came for the prisoners." "I did. They are being transported now. My crew infiltrated the depot while you were watching my transformation." Maya almost smiled. "Humans are very good at distraction." Vexus looked at his tactical display. She was right. While everyone had been focused on the impossible side of the Persistence transforming, shuttles had slipped past the disabled defenses. The refugees were already on their way to safety. "Go home, Commander," Maya said. "Tell your empire what you witnessed. Tell them that humans are not their enemies unless they choose to make us enemies. Tell them that we remember every wrong done to us, but we are willing to forgive. We are willing to start again." Her image began to fade. "Wait!" Vexus called out. "The ship. How did you build it? How does it work?" Maya paused. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." "We built it with time, Commander. With patience. With the understanding that true strength cannot be rushed." She looked at him with eyes that seemed suddenly ancient. "Your species build powerful weapons. They are impressive, but they are static. They do not grow. They do not learn. They do not become more than they were designed to be. And yours do? Ours must. We had no choice. We were weak. We were outnumbered. We were outgunned. So we built things that could adapt, that could evolve, that could take everything the universe threw at them and use it to become stronger. Maya gestured at her ship. The Persistence is 200 years old. In another 200 years, she will be something even more incredible. And in 1,000 years, she will be something the galaxy cannot imagine. That is terrifying. Yes, Maya nodded. It should be. But it does not have to be a threat. We could share this knowledge. We could help other species develop the same technology. Imagine what the galaxy could become if every ship, every system, every piece of technology could grow and learn and improve itself. Vexus thought about it. It was a beautiful vision. It was also frightening beyond anything he had ever considered. I will deliver your message, he said finally. I do not know if my leaders will accept it, but I will make them listen. That is all I ask. Maya's image flickered. One more thing, Commander. Yes? Thank you for calling my ship a piece of junk. It made winning today that much sweeter. The communication ended. The Persistence hung in space for a moment longer. That impossible ship that had hidden for so long behind rust and patches. Then she turned and accelerated away, vanishing into the darkness between stars. Vexus stood on his disabled bridge, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet's pride. He thought about everything he had believed about humans, about their weakness, about their primitive technology, about their hopelessness. He had been wrong about all of it, and somehow, despite everything, that gave him hope. If humans could survive the darkness of the galaxy and emerge stronger, perhaps other species could too. Perhaps there was a path forward that did not require conquest and war and endless conflict. Perhaps the Persistence had shown them all a better way. Vexus began to compose his report to the High Council. He had a lot to explain, and for the first time in months, he was looking forward to the future, even if that future was going to be very, very different from anything he had imagined.